Hello, today I'm gonna introduce distributed tracing for the contributor. This is a very deep dive session. The first of all, I'd like to yeah explain about the prerequisite. So I don't explain these things like activity class and application insight and what is the telemetry looks like. And if you want to know much more about activity class or correlation and the relation between the activity class property and also the Azure portal, then you can go to this blog and you can find some good resource. And also I write a following blog and update of the activity class. And for the new version, you can also find out this Medium website. So so activity class that we are supporting the W3C trace context and also HTTP correlation protocol as usual. Then today's agenda, I'm gonna create maybe the 3 or 4 following videos. The first one, trace context. This is included in this video. The second one is control flow for durable task. This is a core library that the durable functions internally use. And then the configuration that that on the durable task side, I create a framework for that for the correlation. So durable functions just use it. So that is why the configuration is very important. And also finally, the control flow on the durable function side. After watching these videos, you must complete what it looks like about what is the architecture about the distributed tracing on the durable. I hope you enjoyed. So first of all, the trace context. What is the trace context? Yeah, this is the class, and it is some kind of a wrapper of the activity class. So activity class, they have an ID. This is a unique. So, but one of the problem is ID is not we cannot reassign the ID or ID. So, which means that we cannot control ID. But on the durable functions, it replaces that. So that means we need to recreate ID and set that or something like that operation required. How can I solve it? I just write a wrapper of the activity class. So this is called the trace context. And also this trace context supports the orchestration, very complex orchestration. So let's see what strategy looks like. So at first time, the task have client. This is the client of the orchestrator. This is internal class inside of the durable task. So once we receive the the telemetry request from the task have client, I track the request and the dependency in here as a function method execution. Then this task have client send the queue to the blob storage. And then what happened is that this queue includes a trace context. I'm gonna explain which structure looks like. And this includes the correlation information from the task have client. And this queue is the sending to the orchestrator. Orchestrator polling this queue and catch this. And if the orchestrator receives the queue, then what happening is the orchestrator starts the first function. This is first function, and then the first functions and not track the request and dependency telemetry at the time, but instead create a new and trace context inside of it and send to the queue. And also look at this. This have a foo context. Look at this. This orchestrator called foo, which means that this context is for the orchestrator. The orchestrator generates a new trace context which have a new ID, and this is preserved into the trace context. Then they put in the queue, and then the sub orchestrator, for example, they are running. Then what happened is the sub orchestrator first time execute. Then also the sub orchestrator create a new trace context for the sub orchestrator bar. So in this case, the trace context has some stack structure. The first one is a foo, the first orchestrator, The second one is a bar, is a sub orchestrator. Now we have two trace context. That these trace context, the create has a parent and the children relationship between two. And the sub orchestrator then start queue and try to execute activity, watching this queue, worker queue, and activity activity start the function and execute some logic. And then when activity start, we track the track request, request telemetry, and then the complete, then we uh, the send back to the queue to the orchestrators. Then the sub orchestrator start again. This queue is also the include the foo and bar trace context, which means the orchestrator's contexts. But activity is just activity, so not orchestrator. So just keep and passing through them. Sub orchestrator the second time, then receive the queue and complete. So which means the sub orchestrator running two times as each video individual execution of the function execution. Then once the sub orchestrator complete, then the request and dependency telemetry is sent to the the application insights. This is concept. And once the sub orchestrator complete, then it's sent back to queue for the orchestrator. At that time, from the queue, the trace context is dequeued, the last one, which means the bar, which means the sub orchestrator's context. Now the trace context is only have a foo. That means the first orchestrator. Then the first orchestrator reads this queue and hey, oh, I'm in the trace context in foo. That is why that they can orchestrator can get the ID of the foo and track the request and the dependency telemetry at the same time as a complete. This is the overview concept of the the how can we track the very complex telemetry tracking among the whole orchestrator. This is totally all correlated and having a parent-children relationship. That is why we can see it in just in one end-to-end tracing screen. At the same time, so there is other dependency tracking is automatically tracked, but it is not showed up in end-to-end tracing on the application insight screen because that one is filtered out by the operation ID. That is all of the telemetry have the same operation ID through the orchestrator, but any other telemetry don't have the same operation ID. That is why that is not tracked and or just out of scope of the end-to-end tracing screen. So now we understand the basic of the how the distributed tracing for durable functions work. So let's do the code reading. Go to the durable functions. This is the code of the durable task framework. And then if you go to durable task there is a several packages there, but you can find durable task core. In the durable task core, you can find a trace context base like this. So maybe make it bigger. Then you can find there is several parameters there, like this telemetry type and the start time and something like that, operation name or something like that. This one is originally created from the activity, but activity cannot reassign that. So they preserve this value into this class. And two notable things for the contributor is that I have a special serialization method. The reason is this class include for example stack, and also it includes a self-reference. I need a self-referenced one. So that is why we cannot serialize these things and as default. So we need to configure the serialization like this. But I don't want to apply this serialization for all of others, the serializing, because it increases some kind of the size of the string and the content, right? So that is why only this tracing telemetry has this using this JSON settings. So that is why I create a special method just using, the restore and the encode as serialize that this object to the JSON. So I have the special method only for that, like this. Yep. And also that this trace context and wrapper of the activity class have the stack as I explained like this. For this has a trace context base and as a stack, and this is called orchestration trace context, which means it only includes orchestration telemetry, orchestration request telemetry, and orchestration dependency telemetry only. So yeah, it's sometimes it could include the current activity, but sometimes it is not included the actual current activity, especially the orchestrator, because orchestrator replay sometimes execute 2 times as a individual execution of the function. Yes, that's it. So there is the other, the convenient method and included, and also that there is, some class inherit. This is abstracted class, so the child class is there. This is the W3C trace context, class base class is the trace context, and this is specific for instantiate if the customer using a W3C trace context, and also the HTTP correlation protocol. This is the also used the just trace context. This is for the HTTP correlation protocol. And if you yeah, so and finally, so you can go this settings and you can find some distributed tracing. Oh, not this, not this. That is settings. Oh, sorry, correlation settings. So you can find some correlation protocol setting in here, like this. So you can find distributed tracing enabled and protocol, which HTTP correlation protocol, or just this is trace context or the HTTP correlation protocol. That's it. So this is the overview of the trace context. Maybe I hope you're ready to write a code from around this section. So next video I explain more detail about the inside of the the durable task framework related to the correlation.